Forgive me, what was your name? Emil? Mia. Oh, yes. Mia. Okay. Thank you. You're 18? So, is there something you guys want to talk about before we go home? Sarah, why do you laugh?
Find it entertaining that the class was very good.
I don't know which is best, to prepare before coming to class, to just come to class and wing it.
No, I'm here for it. I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Preparing for a class, that's just too much work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you gotta be an idiot for that. I mean, no offense to other instructors. I'm sure they work really hard. Sometimes I run into my colleagues, and say, oh, you want to have a cup of coffee? No, I got to prepare for class. Hello? Hello? So you've been teaching me for 50 years. What do you have to prepare? I got to go and write down what I got to talk about. 50 years? So, Hebron. Hell yeah, Heba. Madison, Heba. How are your parents? Are they still in the dark? Well, if there is anything you guys want to talk about, just let me hear some questions and then we'll go from there. Sure. Sarah?
How do you build resilience? Because that's the question. I mean, let's do mentally at this point. Physically, that's a little more methodical. Yeah.
Okay. Resilience. Anyone else? Yeah.
Why is it so easy for people to accept that they're horrible at things, but they still don't accept that they're good at things?
It's difficult to accept negative or positive.
It's easier to accept negative, but it's hard to accept positive.
Okay. Anything else? Yeah, EJ.
I was going to ask, is it worthwhile to find beauty in the mundane, or is it a waste of time?
I'm really, really sorry. I really want to feel inspired and excited about the questions and somehow wrestling with them. It's like sometimes you want to look at your wife and say, I want to tell her I love her, but you realize it's just not true. Yeah, Ali. Do you like the people? If you don't like the people, just put some poison in them. Why do you have to go? Well, just look at someone in this class. If you find that there is a tiny amount of chemistry, just have them buy food for you. You guys can go out, sit somewhere for a few hours. That's much better than a potluck. Any volunteers? Extra credit? Negative, positive, resilience. EJ, what was yours?
That was about beauty in the mundane.
Oh, beauty in the mundane. Hello. Can I tell you a story? I mean, it's a lousy one, and there's a good chance that it's not going to be related to your question, but it's just a sad story. Well, maybe I can tell you a different one. No, let me just stick to the first one. I knew a woman, I don't know, maybe a decade or two ago. She was from Afghanistan, not too far from Pakistan or Tajikistan. At the age of 11 or 12, she had an experience, a very unpleasant one. She was hanging out with her uncle. She trusted him, had faith in him. He crossed certain lines, and that trust, that faith kind of just disappeared. And she tried to talk about the incident to her parents, but that didn't work. You know, Leslie, in the last class or two, she had asked about culture. You know what a culture is a bucket of life, and life has a tendency of creating events. And then somehow the group that live in that particular community or culture have to come together and figure out, well, how do you make sense of this? You know? And then stories are created. Those stories become eventually psychological and then create their own language and their own meaning. And at the age of 10 or 11, when certain things happen to you, you want to make sense of them, but you just don't have the tools. And speaking to your parents about an incident that was imposed upon you by a relative, you know, a brother or a sister, the father isn't going to accept that, or even if he was, it'd be too heavy of a cross to carry. So this 11-year-old was left with this story, with this experience, without being able to kind of decipher it, understand it. So it just stuck inside her. She tried to forget, but it was, I suppose you could say, a bit too traumatic for her. Eventually, she left Afghanistan. She came to Chicago. And the way she was able to cope with the episode was she was very attractive. She went to UC Davis, got her medical degree, and she went to Highland Hospital here, volunteered for a number of years. Now she's somewhere, I suppose. She was married, but point, ultimately, The way she was able to cope with the episode was to have young boys, men, fall in love with her. And when they did, she would leave them. And then at the age of 26, she said, I'm so tired of feeling this way all the time. I'm just going to get married, and hopefully marriage will resolve the situation. She got married, and 2, 3, 4, 5 years later, she divorced. I guess the point I'm trying to make by telling you the lousy story, which had nothing to do with your question, a good portion of who and what you are really depends on where you come from. Consider, for example, the mass shootings in America. How many people of color do the mass shootings? Almost none. I have never, ever, and maybe it's just because of my limited knowledge, I have never seen an African American being brought down from a rooftop somewhere because he or she was involved in a mass shooting. I've never seen an Hispanic, and you realize that, well, that's not really their culture. That's not how they express their rage. Almost 99.9% of the mass shooters happen to be Caucasians, and the question is why? What is it about the African American culture that creates a different mindset towards aggression, towards violence, towards injustice versus the Caucasian culture? I was beaten up by my father, not very often, but it was just something to do, as that's what the culture did. When I was sent to India, our teachers would spank us, hit us, throw erasers at us, chalk at us, and none of us, and she knows from Pakistan. I mean, even at her age, if she crosses the line, her father has no problem, smacking her, gently, of course, and then taking her out for ice cream, And we never called the cops. We never called SPCA to come and take our parents away. None of those things happened. There is something about your culture that either creates you to be a very thick-skinned human being or a thin-skinned human being. Deviante, right? Devante, sorry. Him and I go back and forth. There is just something about him. I can call him all sorts of names, He can call me all sorts of names, and the truth is I'm not quite sure what it is. I know that he's going to walk away from the class not being scarred, and I certainly will walk not needing a therapist, right? But there are certain people in this room that when I look at, I say, oh my God, just looking at them, they may need therapy after class, And I think all of us have a software on the inside. That software will tell us what things we can or can't handle. And there isn't much you can do. There is a way out, Sarah, but that way out is very, 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 very difficult, if not altogether impossible. Let me give an example. You're always going to be hurt by the things you find valuable. See, right now you don't care about EJ. You don't know EJ. If you were to ask EJ, hello, let's go out for a cup of coffee, and he says no, you say, well, I don't really give a shit. If on the other hand, Emmy, and you like Emmy, and you've been fantasizing about Emmy, even though he's married, and it'd be very inappropriate for you to fantasize about a married man, right? But you do nevertheless. If you were to ask him for a cup of coffee, and he says no to you because of the emotional entanglement, then you'd probably be hurt. So you're not going to be moved. You're not going to be burdened by the things you don't care about. You don't like coffee. So if you come to my house and I don't offer you coffee, you don't have to go to this mental gym to figure out what to do when I'm not so hospitable to you in regards to coffee. If on the other hand you like beer and I don't offer it to you, let's just say you're an alcoholic, then you have to grow a thicker skin, you know. So that's number one. Whatever you're attracted to, whatever you're attached to, whatever you put value into, it has power over you. Now, let's say you come to my office and say, Amir, I crack and then I break and then I fall apart, like in 5 minutes time, it doesn't matter what it is. I gotta figure out, going back to Leslie's question, your culture. What is wrong with you? Your parents, your temperament, the culture in which you were born, like American culture, let's just say, you know. Now that I know that in what ways you're broken, I have to be very, very cunning. I have to manipulate you into liking me. When you grow to like me, then I can push you around. And even though you want to like go to my dean and complain and go to your Facebook page and say all these nasty things, you liking me will force you not to express those things at all. When you like someone, that person has power over you. And if I'm let's say, a good therapist, if I know my craft well, in Persian we call it thief at night. You know, you come to class for 3 units and a grade. After a few days, you realize you don't really much care about the grade or the 3 units. You just begin to like the instructor, you know. And then after a while, you begin to love the instructor. And then that instructor will look at you and say, Devonta, you're just so fucked up. Right? Yeah. Not him, of course. Yeah, that's exactly it. And because he likes you, you know, he says, well, you know, I don't want to be dropped from the class and I want to continue to be liked by this guy. So let me just see where this is going to go. And then all of us in this class know when you love someone or something, you're able to tolerate the abuse. You sit by the phone for 5 hours. You want to go to his house and shoot him, but you say, no, I love him. I can't really do that just yet. There is another thing, Sarah. And this is not, but when I say American, I just don't mean like American, I just mean like American. Such lonely, sad people. They live like all by themselves, eat alone, masturbate alone. They do everything alone. And after a while, you just get used to getting things your way. And when someone opposes you, you kind of just go nuts. The easiest way I can just come over my house every day. Or go to some Middle Easterner's house. Hiba, just go to her house every day. They eat together, like people are talking, all of a sudden other people jump in, and you can't say, well, I was like saying something, and that's a shut the fuck up. No one's interested in what you have to say. And little by little you realize that you really have no significance. You're just there, you just go along, and that's how it is. But if you live a very isolated life, it's very difficult to deal with the forces of out there, if that makes any sense. Or find someone that you grow to love and let them push you around. You'll either go mad, or you'll end up in a therapist's office, or he or she will create you the way they find fit. There's another way. You can't do it by reading books. It doesn't work. No. And you can't be medicated. That doesn't work. You can go to India, Mexico, to China, to the Middle East, and see how rough life is. There is no other way. In other words, there is no how-to to most of the problems of life. You know, it's only in America where you have a section of self-help books, self-help audios, and people are walking around thinking that, yeah, if I do this, you know, it's not, yeah, good luck. You know who Ricky Lake is, EJ? You don't know who, you don't know who she was like a Beyonce of 1980. Hello, how are you? I know. Now, Ricky Lake was this, I don't know, talk show host. Her show was really bad. She was really bad. She still is. She played in a movie. She was, I don't know what she was doing in this movie, but it was a football team. This football captain had a really, really beautiful girlfriend on the plane. The plane crashes. They find themselves in the middle of nowhere. It's cold, you know, snowy. And he's looking for his girlfriend, but she's not there. The only person, you know, next to him is Ricky Lake. So they have no choice but to cooperate with one another to survive, you know, the snowy hills. Now, Ricky Lake in this movie is not very attractive. In fact, she is quite ugly. I mean, Devontae will tell you that. She is really, really hideous looking. I mean, really ugly. I mean, if you thought Snoop Dogg was ugly, no, she was far, far, right? And so as they walk around, they have to look for food and catch fish and all that. This football player comes to realize that she has some really, really, really nice qualities to her. And then she begins to imagine his own girlfriend. And at a certain point, he comes to understand that his own girlfriend is like a bimbo. You know, no offense to the blondes in this class. But she still misses the fact that she's physically so attractive. He misses the fact. There comes a point where he finds himself in love with this beastly-looking Ricky Lake. Eventually, they're rescued, and the captain, the football player, eventually reunites with his girlfriend, and they are happy. And they find themselves in New York. They're holding hands, they're kissing, they're having sex in the middle of the highway. At a certain point, he says, you know what? I'm looking for the qualities inside my girlfriend that Ricky Lake has. He can't find them. Eventually, he looks at his very, very attractive girlfriend and says, I don't want to be with you anymore. And he runs to Ricky Lake's house. And he says, I love you. And she says, you hurt me. I need to be a bit more resilient. And again, he says, I love you. And then she says, I love you too. So here's the evolution of, I suppose, the human psyche. You look at something and you say, yuck, it's ugly. You spend some time with it, and then you realize that you're now beginning to not so much have a physical relationship, but an emotional one. And the problem with emotions is that they're not tangible. In other words, even though your eyes see something and you say it's hideous, on the inside, something about you rises up and says, despite its physicality being somewhat deformed, unattractive, there is some really, really wonderful qualities within. And that's enough to transform you. And all of a sudden, you find something beauty in the ugly. But your question really wasn't about beauty and the beast. Your question was about beauty in the mundane. There was a guy named Rudolf Otto. He was a sociologist, anthropologist some years ago. He has a concept called totem. Totem. You have no reason to like school. Hopefully in a few years you'll graduate with a master's or a PhD. You'll have a wife, maybe two. You'll have a few kids. And you have left for Chicago. That's where you live. But all of a sudden, like Rousseau in Albert Camus' novel, The Stranger, you get a call that your mom is sick in Oakland. So you travel to Oakland and you're tired of taking care of your mom. You say, I just want to go for a walk to get some fresh air. And you say, maybe I should go back to Laney just walk around. And then by chance you pass by this room. I'm long dead. You don't remember most of the students, but you have some fond memories about this class. And all of a sudden, the classroom that held you hostage for about 16 weeks, bored you sometimes, inspired you sometimes, angered you sometimes, all of a sudden becomes a place where you sit outside, you close your eyes, and it takes you back some 50 years. And there are places in your memory that you revisit, and you go into deep reflection. And you say to yourself, what happened to my life? I got married, my wife stole my soul, my kids stole my time and my life. And then, and the point I'm trying to make is this. Unless you have an experience in the mundane, unless you have an experience that inspires you, excites you, transports you and transforms you, there is no way that you can transform the mundane into something sacred. Totem is a physical location that has the power because of the story built around it. It has the power to lift you. I mean, look at Sarah. Forgive me, Sarah. Oh, forget Sarah. Look at Devante. He's just a guy. He's not very good looking. I mean, up close and personal, probably smells bad. You have no interest in him. But all of a sudden, he says to you, I'm not understanding what this class is about. Can you spend some time explaining things to me? And all of a sudden, after like 2, 3, 4 days, your shoulders begin to touch. And then that excites you a bit more, and then you go home fantasizing about holding hands. And before you know it, you're like fully in love. And then you keep looking at your phone. Why do you keep looking at your phone? Because your phone becomes a medium. You keep looking at your phone to see if he has texted you. Something very mundane, technology, connects you to this thing called beauty. You're in love with him, he's not there, you feel lonely, you feel mad, you feel sad, and you keep looking at your phone. Because inside your phone lives the image of Devante. Am I saying your name right? And then, of course, he calls you. And then you're happy. And then you go to his house. There's candlelights, pizza. Why are you guys laughing? You guys...
Just trying to see where you take it.
No, that's it. His flesh. I mean, that's what sex is really when you're in love. Human body becomes a temple. You worship it. It's beautiful. Right now, I mean, look at him. Yuck.
Yeah, I'll be honest.
Yeah. Well, once you have sex, once you're in love and have sex, it's no longer yuck. It's yum. Yeah. Don't get too excited. For those of you who are underage or, just entered into life, my apologies for the graphics. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. Yeah, but without a profound experience, it's very, very difficult to transform, beast into beauty.
Requires an emotional attachment.
Yeah. Queen.
I was hurt by our kid's father when she had married before he passed away. I didn't like him. We had until like I guess my second kid. I didn't like him. I loved him, but I didn't like him.
And I knew that because we tried to kiss me out. You know, like it wasn't a sexual attraction. I think it was more like, let me see where this goes. But I think I started liking and fell in love with him over time. It was okay, we meshed up. No, I didn't like him for that couple of years. So.
There are something really awful about long-term relationships. I mean, they do provide physical security, you know. You know that when you go there, the man is there, the woman is there, the kids are there, the house is there, you know. That it's the same routine, and that's what routine does. Habits and routines, they will give you the power to predict how the future is going to be. You know, like every day after class, you just go somewhere and have a hamburger. That's what you do every single day. You don't need a GPS. That GPS was created for you like 10 years ago. Every day for the past 10 years at 10 o'clock, you go somewhere and eat a burger. That's routine. And that's what, you know, happens in relationships. Now, of course, let's just say that, forgive me, may I? Let's say that the two of you met somewhere and there was mutual attraction and he walks towards you or vice versa, and dreams and fantasies come about. And that's how things are for us. Without dreams and fantasies, there is no movement of any kind. And then there is something about us human beings where boredom plays a really, really huge factor in life. Boredom is when meaning disappears, relevance disappears. You look at some guy or some gal or something, and you no longer find it interesting. I mean, that's what time does. It robs, it steals meaning and significance and value and relevance in you. And so then you have children. Now, children suck the life out of you. I mean, initially, sure, they're fun. I'm going to be the best mom, best dad, best this, best that. I'm never going to allow capitalism to intrude. I'm never going to allow weed or alcohol or drugs or this or that. And then, you know, you can only handle, I mean, human beings are like buckets. Some are like a gallon bucket, some are 50-gallon buckets. So people have come with different capacities. And it's not like you can go somewhere and train yourself to make yourself have bigger capacity. You know, there's a certain limit you're born with. And so you realize that you have tolerance for trash from 10 to about 12. From 12 to 8 p.m., it's just irritation, annoyance, frustration, and anger, okay? That's what kids do. And then the husband comes home, or the wife comes home, and says, you look so beautiful. Let's go to the bedroom. I said, fuck you, I don't want to touch you. I don't want to go near you. I want to be left alone. And little by little, you realize that life really steals, robs you of all the things that have the power to give you wings to fly, okay? And when you have the second one, it gets worse. You know, you had this nice Porsche, now you got to sell it to buy a minivan. And then you bus people around. And as you're sitting back watching your kids play soccer, you say, this is so stupid. You know? I mean, by the way, I'm telling you how your parents feel about you. So, and then time passes. I mean, once in a while you see your man like in the kitchen washing the dishes and you say, you know, he's a good man. I still don't want to like sleep with him, but he's a good man. And then you begin to like him for different reasons. The fact that he washes dishes, you know, he's punctual. Yeah. But relationships really suck. Yeah. Anyone else? Devontae.
My grandmother is from Arkansas. She taught the women in our family, like, you're supposed to be with a man who loves you more than you do, because the woman can fall in love with a man over time. And it's too based off of, like, right here, right now, what you look like you said, like, what you have, you can't grow that over time. But I feel like she just kind of, that's basically what you just said. Right?
It's the love of my life.
After time. Like, it took some time to be like,
Yeah.
But he probably was just so head in, you know, at the beginning. That's why she didn't, you know, like, let me see what this does.
Let me let you in on a little secret about immigrants. Not now, maybe like 30, 40, 50 years ago. I'll just talk about my own people, the Persians. Some of the men, after being in America for a while and fooling around with like 10, 15, 20,000 different women, they get to a place where they say, you know what, I'm tired of being a pimp. I want to like go back home and get married and find myself a nice woman. And so one of our friends who was a doctor, he goes back home, and men are visual animals. So he finds this really, really attractive young woman. And it's an arranged marriage, so to speak. So he goes to the parents and says, well, these are my degrees, I'm a doctor, these are my houses, and these are my cars. And especially if you happen to have come from an environment where socially there is a good amount of poverty. Okay? And when there is poverty, there is a good amount of hopelessness. And then there is also despair. And then the crime goes up. And then there is violence. And then there is rage. All live inside you, you know. And so what you realize is that most of the women who live in Iran desperately want to get out. And their only way out, especially because now for political reasons they can't really be given a visa, they say, I hope someone from America, from France, from somewhere would come here, look at me, ask my parents for my hand, and then they would take me to Canada or America so I can have a relatively good life. So these two people get married. What the man doesn't know is the woman, the young woman, had a boyfriend. And she had talked to her boyfriend saying, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get married to this guy, get my green card, and then become a citizen, then divorce him, and then petition for you, and then you can come to America and you and I can be married. That was the plan. Now, this particular fellow, this doctor, he was really, really ugly. He was uglier than Ricky Lake, okay? And Snoop Dogg combined. No, she's actually quite attractive. Yeah. Yeah. Google Ricky Lake the way you Google Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, and so, you know, she comes here and in the back of her mind, she's just waiting for time to pass for her documents to arrive, citizenship, so she could divorce. Time passes and she finds herself completely in love with this 18-wheeler of a man. So what you said and what you said, time passes and you grow back in love. But this particular growing back gives you something you didn't have initially. Understanding, respect, you understand yourself a little bit better, your priorities begin to change. Initially were just, this guy's really good in bed, but now you realize he's really he's solid. He gives me the paychecks, he doesn't get angry, doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, he's good to the kids. You know, he still is not very good in bed, but whatever. Sorry, let's move on. Matthew? Yeah.
So humans have we tend to believe that we are really smart, we still nice, we are very conscious about a lot of things. But at the end of the day, we are just savages with a clothes on most of the day.
So there was a guy around the early 20th century, his name was Sigmund Freud. Okay. Now there are a couple of things about Freud was a guy who saw and lived through World War I. Okay. He also lived to see parts of World War II. Freud was a Jew, his father was a Jew, he raised his kids as a Jew. And you need to understand what happens when there is a war. So for the past many thousands of years, what we have done is we create philosophy, we create religion, we create social etiquette, we create culture, and all sorts of stories. So we could live together harmoniously. Leah asked a question, at the very beginning of the class. I haven't even looked at Leah. I haven't even spoken about her question. Now, maybe she's unaware of it, maybe she's aware, maybe she's saying to herself, why is this guy answering all these questions? What about my question? Why am I being invisible? Is it because I'm black? Is it because he's racist? Is it because my question wasn't that interesting? What is wrong with this guy? And so because right now she still has a good amount of social etiquette, because she's been seasoned well by her parents, by the books she's read, by the friends she's had, by the YouTube that she's watched, she pushes that particular disgust about me beneath her. Okay, so it doesn't leak out. What war or what violence does is that it expresses to you that many thousands of human genius that has created all of the structure, it no longer has any meaning. My only response to you is a punch in the face. We are savages, true. But what culture does, it pushes the savagery deep down so it doesn't come out very often. Once in a while, when every social, political, religious structure falls apart, then there is a part of you, and that's biological. I mean, when you and I landed down here, we had to kill to survive. It is true now you go to Safeway, you don't engage in the act of killing something to survive, okay? But that's who and what we are. There's a part of us that is like a savage. Now, you could be a savage for the right reasons, you could be a savage for the wrong reason. Okay? I had a student in one of my classes, he dropped. Not quite sure what the hell was wrong with this kid. You know, his parents were divorced, he wasn't really close to any of his siblings, and all of a sudden he gets up, he says, I can't do this anymore, says a few profanities and walks out. Okay? Now, if you want to live in society, the truth is you need to get along. If you can't get along, there is something about you that's broken. Okay? That your parents, your siblings, society, the books you've read, the education you've had, they haven't really been successful in allowing the savage to take the back space, you know. So are we savages? Absolutely. But will your savagery help you live in society harmoniously? The answer is no. Do you have a culture? The answer is yes. What is the culture? The culture is a set of stories that allow you to live harmoniously amongst people. You know, you have a question, raise your hand. If you're an idiot, you just jump in and just ask your question. So, yeah. The trick is, I think you just need to know when this part of you that is violent needs to come out. For the right reasons, right people. I don't know if you know Muhammad Ali or not. The government had told him that he needs to go to Vietnam. You know, I mean, he's a boxer. And when in the ring, Muhammad Ali was a kind of a different animal, you know. When he came to realize in the ring that this guy has had enough beating, he would just look at the ref and say, kind of, you need to stop this. You know, kind of like Manny Pacquiao. Muhammad Ali would say, you know, I'm not going to go over there and kill people. They haven't done anything to me. You know, I'm not going to kill for politicians. And what you have is a man who's been cultured well, seasoned well. He knows when he's being toyed with. He knows who's exploiting him and for what reasons, and he refuses that. If on the other hand you happen to be Mike Tyson, you have a good amount of anger inside you, going to a battlefield is the best place for you because you get all that aggression out by destroying people you've never seen. So. Leah, what was the question? Yeah, me neither. Anyone else? Go ahead. Yeah, do you?
Ask the question last time. That wasn't answered. What is passion?
When does? So, have you ever had Zachary's pizza? Do you like it? Deep dish? Spinach mushroom? How about just spinach? Do you like sometimes sit home and fantasize about, you know, having a relationship with a slice of Zachary's pizza?
No, but sure.
Let's just say yes.
Okay.
So, when was the last time you had Zachary's pizza? That's too far back. So, you need to save some money, steal some money, you know, Ask EJ. You guys can hang out so you can pay for the Zachary. What I'm doing right now, I'm planting seeds. Okay? You ask a question. The first thing I asked you was, do you like Zachary's pizza? And the answer is yes. So I keep talking about Zachary's. And when I keep talking about Zachary's, you begin to think more about Zachary's pizza. Okay? Now, what's going to happen is if you leave the classroom and Zachary's doesn't leave you, it stays inside your mind, and you begin to fantasize about it and play with it more and more and more, something interesting is going to happen. You're going to call your dad after a certain point and say, Dad, do you think I can get $50? I want to take EJ out to Zachary's. You know. Now, you may think that it was your own choice, your own will, but the truth is I planted the seeds. Okay? Now, I don't know if you're aware of this. For those of you in this class who are hooked to your cell phone and video games, companies pay billions of dollars to scientists to figure out how dopamine works. And the more knowledge they have, okay, the more they can make especially young boys addicted to porn, to video games, to all sorts of things. Okay? Yeah, and that's exactly it. Okay? Right now, you may not care about Zachary's, but the more I talk about it, the more you begin to fantasize about it, the more you begin to, you go back in time, and certain memory file opens up, and all of a sudden, like a dog, you begin to salivate. You know, you begin to like fantasize this slice of pizza into your mouth, and you say, man, this is beautiful. So much so that you go there and you're willing to wait for 45 minutes for this pizza to come to your table, okay? There comes a point where a simple desire turns into an obsession, because you keep playing with it over, and that's a relationship. When you have a relationship with something, and when it's repeated over and over and over and over again, there comes a point where it occupies a good amount of space inside you, and it's not going to leave easily. Unless you are obsessed about having Zachary's, you're driving down the road, and EJ just rams into you. And now you begin to think about insurance, about your car, about what you're going to say to your dad, all those things. That's how obsession happens under the sun for everything out there, everything. If you want to know why you love your boyfriend, it's no God. It's no destiny. It's no love. It's like Zachary's pizza. Essentially, everything is like Zachary's pizza. If seeds are not planted, you're not going to think about it. Now, have you ever been to a party? Have you ever been to a party where you like the guy? Let's just say you're hetero, right? Okay. So, these days you don't really know what you're dealing with. So you go to a party and there's a guy. You keep looking at him, but he keeps looking at like another guy, or cat, or a dog, or something. Maybe he's into bestiality. Who the hell knows these days, right? Now, what are you going to do? You like this guy. You want to create an impression. So you look at him, you say, then you look away. Then you put some like glossy lipstick on your nose. Or you do some crazy thing. What are you doing? You want his attention. When you have his attention, what else are you going to do? You're going to maybe show him some skin. You want to make sure that you are not forgettable, to the point that he just walks across the room, looks at you and says, hey. And then you go home and you keep looking at your phone. Is he interested enough, infatuated enough to send me a text? If he does, he's been baited. What have you done? You've been a very good politician. You baited a human being. And in baiting this human being, when he texts you, you're going to feel relevant, important. You'll have power over your loneliness, over not having money because now someone else can buy you Zachary's. There are some people in this room, like they play with their phone, they're not interested. I won't even look at them. I don't give a shit about them. Not even their future. When it's time for them to get a grade, I have no problem giving them an F. But Devontae there, It's going to be a little tough.
My name at the time. You're gonna know my name. See, he got it. You know the same.
The problem with Devontae is that he has created an impression. There was yesterday I was walking to my office and I ran into a student from this class. That person isn't here today. I said hello, and this person looks at me and said, "Fuck is that?" You know, I mean, first, like you're like 18-year-old piece of shit. Second, you're a student. Third, I'm like 50 years older than you. Have some self-respect. Open your mouth and say, hello, how are you doing? Nothing. So I'm really looking forward for the end of the semester so I can give her an F. I mean, that's my joy in life these days.
Someone walks in right now, we're gonna know.
Get my A down.
Anyone else? Of course, Madison.
Okay, also you didn't answer this last class. What is my element? I'll just ask.
Well, I don't know you. And yeah, I mean, you can't know someone's element without some interaction, you know, and you could say if you were to have a relationship, in other words, if you were to talk more in class, if you come to my office, sit and just have a conversation, then I could tell you. But because I'm not interested, and it really doesn't matter. I mean, astronomy, astrology, it's a science, really, they both are. And for the longest time, people have been fascinated with numerology, with astrology, to figure out who they are, what they are, how they function, what their sign is, you know, all those things. At the end of the day, none of those things really matter. You're still a piece of shit. You're undigestible in a relationship. You know, nobody really likes you. No one wants to be around you. And just because you have some ideas in your head doesn't mean anything. If, on the other hand, you're talking about like Devontae, okay, and it comes to realize that your temperament is made of fire. You're just chaotic. You're a mess. And he's an old guy, you know, and let's just say he's a hetero and he's been with a lot of fiery people, chaotic people, who's always going up and down. He says, you know what? I like Madison. She's beautiful. But man, that mouth of hers and that temperament of hers, I don't want to deal with it. So that knowledge for him is useful. For you, it's useless. Because there isn't much you can do about it.
Are you saying that I can't change?
Yeah, you can't. Nobody can change. You can make, what?
Why do you think that?
What?
Why do you think that no one can change?
Imagine I'm an alcoholic and you're my wife. Close your eyes, imagine that. No, you have to close your eyes. Okay. Do you like hanging out with an alcoholic?
No.
Do you like an alcoholic as your husband?
No.
How about an alcoholic as a father?
No.
Change me. What do I need to do?
Get help.
Oh, fuck. Come on, no, seriously.
I feel like you should have probably like a near-death experience or something that like
Okay, that's not going to happen.
alters
Look.
your, mindset,
I'm not going to East Oakland. What else?
Wait, that doesn't count.
Okay, West Oakland.
Turned up pretty.
All right. Okay, go ahead. Look, the first thing you need to understand is, how old are you, Madison? How old are you?
Oh, I'm 20.
In the 20 years that you have lived, you have some fundamental habits to you. And the fact is, because you're so young and because you lack some experiences, those habits are not going to be good for you. In fact, they're obstacles in your life. Okay. Now, you want to change from one thing to another. First, you need to understand what habits do. I drink simply because I can't cope with the difficulties of life. I drink maybe because my brain chemistry enjoys that. I drink, maybe I hate my life. And I just didn't start drinking yesterday. I've been drinking for the past 20 years. Do you think that this new desire to change can compete with 20 years of habits? It's a brand new seed, my desire to change. And just because I want to change, because I want to stop being an alcoholic, it doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight. Okay? I really have to become aware of so many different things and have the support system to overcome so many different things. And even though I mentally may desire to walk away, my body now enjoys that liquid inside it. I'm not dealing with my past, with my physical and brain chemistry, with the emotions I have with alcohol, and I don't drink alone, I drink with my buddies. And the second, third, fourth, fifth thing I need to do, I need to delete all my contacts. Do you know what happens when you stop doing your routines? You go nuts. And you know why I drink, above all? It gives me meaning, comfort. What happens when I stop drinking? Comfort goes away. How am I going to deal with that? What, read the Bible? Change is difficult. Yeah.
Okay, all jokes aside, you kind of started defeating me a little bit. Like you said something nice a little bit as far as like, no, you can change eventually if you put the work in. You have to. Like, you almost have to. Like, we can change.
If what?
Please say something. I
No.
don't want to leave the class. Just feeling like I can't change. I see some things I want to change. So it's like.
No. First of all, it depends what exactly it is you want to change. How old are you? Come on, open your mouth. How old are you? You're okay. So you're very close to being an old man. Now look.
I'm not old now. I'm experienced.
Listen. No, man. You're not seasoned. You're just old. Now look. I don't know much about your life, okay? Life creates its own issues, and we're not the sort of animals that come with a lot of tools. Tools are given to us with the passage of time, very, very slowly. By the time we have the proper tools, it's a little too late, okay? The only thing we can do with these tools is to give them to another human being who's going through the same stuff that we used to go through. That's the only thing we can do, okay? I can't go back and change certain things. But what I can do with the lessons, the harsh lessons that life has given me, give those ideas to you and hope that your ears are open, you happen to be at the right place in life so these ideas can go inside you. And very much like Zachary's pizza, when you leave the classroom, you can play with these ideas and they slowly begin to haunt you. Now you begin to obsess about these ideas. Maybe then you'll have a glimmer of a chance. Okay. Now, going to school at this age for you, it's very, very difficult. I mean, look, you're not here for fun, and you shouldn't be here for fun. You're here because you've understood a few things. You're black. This is America. Money is important. Relationships are important. You're not getting any younger, you're getting older. And as you get older, things become a bit more difficult, okay? Now, for the past like 10, 15 years, you've had a leisurely life. You wake up when you want to. You talk to people when you want to. You go to work when you want to. Going to school is very, very different. You got to be punctual. There are essays you got to do. There are classes you got to attend. There are classes you won't like, but you got to take them if you want to graduate. Now, for someone who's been in the habit of doing things because it just makes them feel good and running away from things because it makes them feel bad, school doesn't play games like that. You have to overcome those things. Now, in a couple of weeks, you have an essay due for this class. Now, that's going to be tough for you. You don't want to write essays because essays require you spending some time listening, understanding, then expressing on paper, then editing your essay. And just in case you're not a very reflective, self-examining human being, you're just going to write some piece of shit essay, turning in, hoping for a B or a C or an A. Or just a passing grade. Now, is it true that deep down you want to get an A? Absolutely. Is it true that you really want to understand? Definitely. Is it also true that your past addictions are going to obstacle you? Definitely. Do you have the proper tools to overcome it? Maybe. But every time you want to say, I'm going to delay writing this essay, it means the past is coming to true. Can you change? Yeah. But you need a support system. Do you have that? The answer is no. Can you create that? Maybe. How? Well, ask these people. How many of you want to sit over the weekend and go over the essay? You won't do that. And even if all of you come to an agreement, Saturday, 6 o'clock, eventually it'll turn into gossip. I mean, discipline is really, really, really tough. When you're young, when you're like 18 and you've been spanked by your high school teachers and just right after that you go to school, there is no gap. You haven't had the freedom to do whatever the hell you want to do. You still understand what happens when you get an F. You still understand what happens when you take your transcripts home and your mom looks at it and says, man, you suck as a human being, But when you get a little older, it's very, very difficult. Not impossible, just difficult. You and I live in a culture where everything is easy. Money is easy, change is easy, going to school is easy, getting a degree is easy. Right now, you can get a PhD with $20,000 in one of these online classes. Online. I mean, you can be in the toilet, sitting on the toilet for 5 hours and get a PhD. And you can have ChatGPT write your essays. And add to the fact that the force of technology where things are given to all of us so easily. I mean, writing an essay is tough. Going to school for 4 years is tough, man.
When I was in school, we didn't have
Yeah.
just, that's that.
What was your name? Eladriana. Okay.
Eladriana?
Eladriana?
Eladriana.
Eladriana. Eladriana. Okay. I probably will mess it up.
This ain't lame.
Eladriana.
No, this ain't lame.
Olay?
Yeah.
No, that'll take my mind elsewhere. Okay, but go ahead.
Question.
Go ahead, Lay.
What makes no lame?
Lay.
Why?
Lay.
Yes.
I just said it. What did I say?
I don't know, but it was bad.
Oh, the A is silent?
No, you said the L silent. You was like A. You was like, go ahead, A, but it's lame.
I said Lay. You know what's going to happen, Lay? I'm going to go home. I'm going to tell my wife I have a student whose name is Lay.
Right.
And she's going to mishear me. And she may take me to the bedroom. And that's something I want to do today.
I'm gonna try.
All right, go ahead, Lay. What's your question?
What makes something worthy of commitment?
So we go through these transitions in life. Can I give it to you in like a layman's term? Do you get that, layman? All right, fine. Imagine you go to a party and you're young. Let's say 18. Lay?
I'm right now.
No, don't write it down. Just look at me.
Oh, I want to record.
No, don't. So your priority is looking for someone who looks nice, okay, has a nice car. You don't much care about the education. You don't much care about his relationship with his parents. You don't much care if he's going to school, whatever. You just want someone who's fun. Okay. Time passes and you realize Lay does not live by bread alone. It's a saying from the Gospel of Luke that you want something more than someone who just looks good. Okay. Someone who's just there for fun. Once in a while, you want to go out with this guy, have a nice, quiet dinner, and engage in a meaningful conversation. All of a sudden, within 6 months period, okay, that which was meaningful to you, which was some guy with good looks, now you want someone who has a good-looking mind. And then after you find someone who speaks well and thinks well, you begin to ask a different set of questions. I'm at a certain point in my life when I want to be in a committed relationship. Now you ask different questions. How's your mom? How's your dad? How are your kid, brothers, sisters? And then you come to a place, say you're 30 now, your body's screaming to have a child. Now you're looking for a different kind of set of questions, a different man. So, do you have a job? Do you go to school? Do you drink? Do you smoke? How often do you party? Who are your friends? How's your mom? How's your dad? As you mature, you begin to look at things differently. There is this beautiful saying, There is this beautiful saying in the Gospel of look at me. There is this beautiful saying in the Gospel of Matthew. I mean, it's filled with gems. You can't make the grass grow by pulling it. If you're going out with Devontae, okay, and if you want to get married, but he doesn't have a stable job and he's fucked up emotionally, you can't mature him by forcing him. It doesn't work. The best thing you can do, leave his ass. Go out with EJ. And you'll find EJ to be another loser. The point I'm trying to make is all of us in this class are forcing other people to mature. The truth is, the only thing you can do, if you have watched the movie The Matrix, create an environment and hope that when you put your boyfriend in that environment, he has eyes that sees and ears that hears, so he can learn the lessons. So tomorrow he'll be a changed man, slightly. And in 5 years' time, this boyfriend could have the potential to become the husband or a father.
What was your take on courting?
Who?
Courting. You remember how they used to quarterback and things so nothing to act? That was a great question.
Courting, it involves what exactly?
Courting, so like getting to know someone first, like first sex, like okay, bro, like it's kind of like an arranged marriage, something like that in you guys' culture, but like okay, bro, like don't buy, don't buy milk the cow before you buy it,
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah, getting to know people, spend time without sex, on dates and shit like that, stuff like that.
There are
You remember courtship?
yeah, there are advantages like everything else and disadvantages. First of all, the more you get to know something, the less you're interested. That's number one. So when you live under the roof with someone for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, there comes a point where they're no longer interesting. And when you find them to lack certain things, you kind of get bored. And then the idea of picturing in your mind you're going to marry this guy and you're not really interested in him anymore, that doesn't jive very well. Okay, that's number one. The second is, we have a saying in Persian, before marriage, make sure your eyes are fully open. When you are married and after marriage, make sure you're blind. In other words, human beings have lots of flaws. We come incomplete and oftentimes we die incomplete. There are lots of flaws that live inside you and inside me, okay? There are some serious social issues. First, Americans live a very isolated life. If it's just me and you hanging out, if you're my wife and I'm your husband and we only have a couple of friends, our life is not going to last too long. You really need a community, a huge community. So I can escape from you and you can escape from me. When we go to parties, you sit with women and you gossip. I sit with men and we gossip. We can't spend too much time with one another. And in an environment such as this, where people are forced to spend their life, it's simply one single human being, it's just too much. Number two, it's a disposable culture. We're not trained to have long-term relationships. It just won't work anymore, okay? The divorce rate right now is 70%. You walk into every relationship knowing full well, unconsciously, they're not going to last. There are too many things against us right now. When it's going to change. And will people be lucky in a marriage? Maybe it lasts. Absolutely. There are always going to be exceptions to the rule. But for the most part, if this was 100 people in this room and all of us were to get married to someone, 70 people in this room would fail. if not more. What are you going to find about me in courtship?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to find out. If I like you, if I want to, do we mesh? You know, can I tolerate you? Am I willing for me to deal with your flaws? Can you deal with my flaws? If I put it from you, so like, you know, stuff like that. So like
You are a woman. Nature made you to be a factory. You're there to bear children, one or two. Okay. When you're young, fine. In this culture, you fall in love and all that. At a certain point, you know, you got to think about your body screaming at a certain point. Okay. Will this guy, and you need to understand what it means to be a mother. A mother transforms you from a sexual object to something very, very, very different. Okay. So at a certain point, when your body screams to have a child, you're looking for a specific kind of a man. And for that to happen, you need role models. You need a GPS. You know, we always go back to this is how my father was. I love my father and I want to find someone just like my father. That's your GPS. In the absence of the GPS, well, your GPS becomes Friends now, the show on TV or Seinfeld or whatever show that's out there. They become your guides, you know, and these are very shows that have lots of flaws in it. And they're also a very soft porn culture. This is a culture that revolves around sex. You know, they want to sell you Cheerios. There is some sexual elements involved. They want to sell you a Toyota, sexual elements involved. You know, and so it's complicated. Woody Allen made a movie some years ago, and it's a great movie. It's called Whatever Works. And it has to do with, we have entered an age where people are really, really suffering. And because of that, whatever works. If you want to buy a dog because you assume that the dog, walking your dog makes you happy, get a dog. If you think Jesus Christ is your way to salvation, buy him. If you think that life is far too stressful and once in a while you just need to smoke weed, do that in private and don't boast about it. If once in a while you're far too lonely and far too fucked up to be in an intimate relationship, go somewhere, screw someone. Yeah, just don't talk about it. Whatever works, just do it in a very healthy way. Because, you know, all this traditional ideas no longer work. We're in a different time.
had a cousin, she just got married recently.
Tell him I'm sorry, yeah.
So, they didn't like each other. They were just best friends. Whatever, for the dinner or whatever. Recently, they just got married. They didn't, you know, they've been together 5 years. They got married. They knew they liked each other. It was about 7 years ago. They tried it. You know, he had a girlfriend or whatever. But it's working for them. I can't say, you know, they're going to get divorced or whatever the hell it is. If they've known each other, they didn't decide to get the relationship until they got older and knew each other. But, you know.
There was a guy named Bruce Lee. He made a movie in the early or middle 70s. It's called Enter the Dragon. He's there to fight a white guy, and this white guy pulls out a board and punches it, and the board breaks into 1,000 pieces. And Bruce Lee looks at him and says, "Boards don't hit back." At the moment you occupy the same roof, under the same roof, the moment you have children, everything changes. Everything changes. Aristotle, one of the giants of Greek philosophy, he had mentioned something very interesting. You may be a great mother, and you say you have 2 kids, and then you die, and people come to your funeral and they say all these wonderful things about you. But then your son ends up to be a jackass. Your son will ruin your reputation, even though you're dead. And whenever your name is spoken in public, everybody will just say, yuck. That not only are we not free in life, we're also not free in death. Because people who are close to us, our own blood, have the power to tarnish our name and reputation. It's time for what, Lay? There you go. Well spoken. All right, guys. Have a nice weekend. See you Tuesday.
Again, I'm sorry.